Classic fall flavors are on the dessert menu today. I'm making a no-bake pumpkin swirl cheesecake with a ginger cookie crust. Hello and happy fall. Welcome back to my kitchen. Thanks so much for spending your time with me. Today on the menu is a classic fall flavor palette. Pumpkin, ginger, cinnamon. Delicious no-bake pumpkin swirl ginger cookie crust cheesecake bars. You can easily turn this one into a cheesecake, just substitute a springform pan, but I'm making mine really easy and super portable into bars, and I'll show you how I do that. This one comes together in just a couple pretty easy steps. We're going to take some of our aggression out on some store-bought gingersnap cookies to put together our crust. Then we assemble the cheesecake part of our cheesecake bars. Then we assemble the pumpkin swirl part of our cheesecake bars. Then we pop into the fridge for a couple hours to rest and firm up. No special tools or equipment are required for this one, though it does really help to have a hand mixer. We will be whipping some cream till stiff peaks, which is quite the workout for your arm, but it's definitely doable with just a whisk. And then you need some sort of an implement to crush your cookies. There's an easy substitution for the cookies, which is graham crackers, a little bit more of a traditional graham cracker crust, but ginger snaps go so nicely with all of the other fall flavors in this dish. So let's get going. First, our crust. A couple cups of ginger snap cookies. These are just store-bought ginger snap cookies, and a little bit of melted butter. First, I need to crush our ginger snap cookies. The way I do that, always, plastic bag, ginger snaps go in, seal it, let some of the air out to make sure you don't explode your bag, and then just using a rolling pin, a wine bottle carefully, a meat mallet, even just your hands, just start crushing. That looks great to me. So some of the crumbs are completely pulverized. Some of them still have a little bit of body, which is exactly what I like in my crust. So that goes into a mixing bowl. And we're just gonna add some butter. In a traditional graham cracker crust, you'd likely see some sort of additional sugar added, but these are truly cookies. There's plenty of sugar for me. You can add a little bit more if you'd like. Brown sugar would be nice here, but for me, it's gonna be a really simple crust of these cookies and butter. So I'm just gonna mix this up until the butter is well incorporated. It should be like a wet sand texture. Gotta get some on the bench. So our graham cracker crumbs look about the consistency of wet sand, which is exactly what I want. So now I am going to tumble those graham cracker crumbs into the bottom of this 8x8 dish. An 8x8 dish is about the right volume to have a thicker cheesecake bar, but if you don't have a dish this small, you can use a bigger dish as well. Your cheesecake bars will just be more narrow. All that I've done to prepare the dish is taken 2 pieces of parchment paper, crisscrossed them in the bottom of the dish, leaving some margin at the top for kind of like a little handle. All that's going to allow us to do is ensure first that our cheesecake bars don't stick, and second that we do have a little bit of handle to lift them out, put them on a cutting board, and make nice even slices. But if you don't have parchment paper, no worries. Build your cheesecake bars directly in the dish. They might be a little bit harder to finagle that first one out, but they'll still taste delicious. So all I'm gonna do then is scatter these crumbs right in the bottom of the baking dish. Spread them out a little bit. And then using the bottom of a measuring cup, I'm just gonna press them into the bottom of the dish. We're going for an even layer here, something that's about the even thickness all the way around. And if you have a really thick layer on the bottom, you can start to work those crumbs up the side a little bit. But I really love just a bottom crust on these cheesecake bars. You can even use your hands for this step if you'd prefer that, or if that's the tool that's better for you. Crust is in the bottom of our dish. This is gonna chill for me in the freezer, actually. We want that butter to harden up a little bit when we put the rest of our ingredients on top. So into the freezer this goes. Next up, cheesecake base. I'm gonna take a little bit of help from a hand mixer here, but again, you can do all of this by hand with just a whisk. So starting off, we're gonna do 2 bricks of cream cheese. And this is cream cheese that has come to room temperature, so it's softened cream cheese. You can do this with cream cheese out of the fridge. It's just a lot harder to get it to be the right consistency that we want. So softened cream cheese is best. So I'm just gonna whip this up a little bit. Okay, that was about a minute. Everything is about the same consistency, a little bit lighter, a little bit fluffier. Now we add the rest of the ingredients. A little bit of Greek yogurt. You could use sour cream here as well if you like a little bit of a tangier cheesecake. Sugar. Salt to counteract some of that sweetness, balance out the flavor a little bit, and some vanilla. About a tablespoon of vanilla. And again, we mix. Scrape down. I like to scrape the sides and the bottom just to make sure everything is really well incorporated. Cheesecake filling, partially done. Next on the docket is pumpkin swirl. Taking a little bit of help from pumpkin pie spice, which is basically just a combination of spices. Let's see if I can get them all. Cinnamon, ginger, lemon, cardamom, cloves, and nutmeg. I missed the nutmeg. So all of the fall spices wrapped up into one spice blend. You can use the separate spices that you have in your kitchen, or if you've got some pumpkin pie spice, it's a great use for that. We're using a full tablespoon of it, and you can bump that up if you'd like. For my money though, there's not enough cardamom in pumpkin pie spice, so I've added a couple more sprinkles of that. But really, we're just trying to flavor some pureed pumpkin. So this pumpkin is from a can, and while many of you, and I as well, have pumpkins coming out of your garden, pumpkin that you've roasted and then pureed tends to have a little bit higher water content than what's in the store-bought stuff. So for a recipe like a cheesecake that's gonna firm up in the fridge, you wanna be really careful about that water content. So it's worth experimenting with pumpkin that's come out of your garden, but if you don't wanna go through all of that trouble, the pumpkin that comes in a can that's just pureed pumpkin works perfectly for this. And then another very fall flavor, some maple syrup, just to sweeten this filling up a little bit. And then in go our spices. So I don't like a super, super sweet dessert, especially for something like this with all of these fall flavors. So this is very pumpkin forward. You can definitely taste the pumpkin with a little bit of maple sweetness in the background. If you like a sweeter dessert, or perhaps you're serving this to kids and you've got to kind of trick them into eating pumpkin, you may want to bump up the sugar content in this. It's getting swirled into the cheesecake batter, which is actually quite sweet. So it's a nice balance of flavors, but it's just worth always tasting your food at kind of every step to ensure that what the recipe calls for is something that you'll actually enjoy. So if you don't like the way it tastes now, you're not gonna like the way it tastes in your final dish because it's just getting refrigerated. So in other words, taste your food at every step. Okay, our swirl is done. I'm gonna set this aside by our cheesecake mixture. And last but not least, and straight out of the fridge, I have a container of heavy whipping cream. So after I've given it a nice solid shake, into a very clean bowl. And this is the part that if you don't have a hand mixer, your arm will get quite the workout. We're gonna whip this cream. We're going until stiff peaks. I'm gonna take it until soft peaks, add a little bit of sugar, keep going until stiff peaks. So I'll see you when we get there. Okay, we're getting close. It's not quite soft peaks yet, but I'm gonna add the sugar. Just about a tablespoon or two of powdered sugar. And just a few minutes later, maybe like a minute after I added that sugar, stiff enough for me. And voila, we are ready to assemble it. So last step is to gently fold the cream into the cheesecake mixture. Whipped cream in. When you're working with an ingredient like whipped cream that you've spent a lot of time incorporating air and lift into, if a recipe asks you to mix it with something else, typically it will ask you to fold it together. If folding is new to you, don't stress out too much. There is a very specific method to folding, the way that one cuts down, wraps around, and flips. So I'll show you how I like to fold. So I like to cut through the center and flip the two things together. Down, around, and through. Down, around, and through. If you rotate your bowl a little bit, it ensures that you're folding more evenly. And only as long as I need to. All I'm trying to do is incorporate those two things together. And I'd say after like 15 mixes, we're already there. This is really well folded together. That is plenty. I'm gonna go no further. So all we're gonna do is swirl these things together. So about half of our filling mixture. Spread it all the way around. Some dollops of our pumpkin. The remainder of our cheesecake mixture. And the remainder of our pumpkin mixture. Okay, now we swirl. So I'm just using a skewer. You can use the handle of a knife, a fork, a spoon. You can use a spatula. I like the kind of narrow smallness of this, but I'm just doing figure eights in the batter, all the way down to the crust. If you go too far, you'll just fully incorporate the ingredients, which is not a big deal. But if you want it to look a little swirly, you gotta stop at some point. And for me, that point is now. There we have it. Sadly, no immediate gratification on this one except for licking the bowl. This one needs to go into the fridge for a while to harden up. Probably at least 4 hours, but I think I'm gonna come back to you tomorrow and cut into these. For you, it'll be no time. For me, it'll be torture. I'll see you soon. It's pumpkin cheesecake time. These little beauties were in the fridge overnight, and then about 15 minutes ago, I put them in the freezer just to make cutting them super, super easy. Let's see how we did. So I'm just gently pulling up on our handles, removing them. Works super easily. I'm gonna peel the parchment paper off. Looks great. Okay, so one trick I have for you is if you want really nice, clean slices, to slice off a little bit of the sides. This will not go to waste. These scraps, while not for you, ma'am, they are great to eat. Okay, so I trimmed up the sides just a little bit just to square them off so I could have some even pumpkin bars. And these are very tall, so I'm just gonna make relatively small chunks. 16 pieces, so 4 each way. There we have it. There we have it, a few of them plated up. These are delicious. What a great fall dessert. The ginger snap cookies, I would highly recommend that. Graham crackers will work just fine, but if you've got some ginger snaps or can find some ginger cookies, give those a whirl. No additional sugar is necessary. The swirl, the layers, great. Having one little bite of that pumpkin, that spicy pumpkin mixture in with the just creamy cheesecake is perfection. These need to stay in the fridge until you're ready to serve them. They will last in the fridge for a while. And I have a feeling that your family will go through them very quickly. They're really delicious. Thanks so much for being here with me in the last couple of days to make a little easy no-bake dessert celebrating fall flavors. If you give this one a try, please let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe to my channel. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Happy fall!